Listen to me carefully. This isn't just another speech. This is a wake-up call. This is for the one who's been betrayed more times than they can count. For the one who keeps giving chances to the same people who keep proving they don't deserve them. For the one whose heart is too big and whose silence has been mistaken for weakness. I'm talking to you. You've got a light in you that some people can't stand to see shine. They come into your life smiling, praising you, pretending to be friends, pretending to care, but deep down, they're not clapping for you. They're competing with you. They're not building with you. They're studying you just to use what they learn against you. You need to understand something painful but powerful. Not everyone who sits at your table is there to eat with you. Some are just there to watch you starve. So today we're going to talk about the 6 most dangerous people you must avoid, because keeping them in your life will cost you more than peace. It'll cost you purpose, destiny, and everything God's been preparing for you. Let's begin before it's too late. Number 1, the one who pretends to support you but secretly competes with you. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is not the one standing in front of you with a weapon in their hand, but the one sitting beside you with a smile on their face. They wear the mask of a friend. They echo your dreams. They nod at your victories, and they blend into your circle like they belong there. But deep inside, there's a storm brewing in their heart, one made of envy, comparison, and silent rage. They don't want your success. They want your position. They don't want to see you rise. They want to rise above you. And they're willing to fake loyalty just to stay close enough to watch your every move. They'll clap when the lights are on you, but the sound of their applause is hollow. They don't cheer for your breakthrough. They're terrified of it, because your shine reminds them of the places they've failed to grow, of the chances they never took, of the potential they buried beneath fear and laziness. So instead of facing their reflection, they target your light. And what makes them so dangerous is that you trusted them. You let them in. You believed they were for you. But they were always in competition with you. They study you like a blueprint, not to learn, but to imitate. They take notes on your wins, then try to duplicate your path, hoping to beat you at your own game. And if they can't keep up, they start to sabotage. Suddenly, they question your motives, undermine your ideas, and find subtle ways to plant doubt in your mind. Are you sure that's the right move? Do you really think you can handle that? They pretend to be concerned, but every word is a seed of insecurity. It's not support. It's sabotage in slow motion. And when you achieve something great, they don't celebrate. You can feel it. Their eyes shift. Their energy gets quiet. Their compliments sound like backhanded slaps. You're lucky things worked out for you. I've been thinking about doing that too, but better. See, they can't just be happy for you because your success reminds them of the race they feel like they're losing. They treat life like a scoreboard, not a journey, and even worse, they think your progress takes something away from them. That's the root of their sickness. They believe your light dims theirs. And so they compete with you in silence. They copy your ideas, try to outshine your work, and act like they're chasing their own dream when in reality, they're just chasing yours. They don't want to build something original. They want to beat you at being you. And the tragedy is that you once thought this person was family, a brother, a sister, a soul you could trust. But slowly you begin to feel the shift. The conversations change. The support becomes conditional. They only show up when it benefits their image. They ask questions not because they care, but because they're gathering information. You feel like you're always being watched, always being measured, always being compared. And when you do better, they shrink. Not because you hurt them, but because your growth exposes their stagnancy. And that's what tears them apart. They hate that they needed your success to feel like a failure. You didn't compete with them. You were too busy building. But they turned your journey into a race you never signed up for. What's worse is they'll never admit it. Never say out loud that they see you as a threat. No, they'll hide behind fake smiles and empty congratulations. They'll repost your wins, tag your name, even show up at your events. But it's all for optics. Deep down, they're waiting for the moment they can say, I'm better than you. And that's dangerous. Because you don't see the attack coming. You think they love you. You think they've got your back. But the truth is, they're just keeping score, keeping tabs, counting steps. And every time you climb higher, it doesn't inspire them. It enrages them, because they're not rooting for you to win. They're praying for you to slip. And here's the heartbreaking part. Some of these people won't be strangers. Some will be family. Some will be people who've seen you cry, held your dreams in their hands, shared meals at your table, but behind those kind eyes was a quiet competition you never agreed to enter. And that quiet competition will rob you of peace. You'll start to shrink yourself to protect their ego. You'll silence your excitement just to keep them comfortable. You'll downplay your blessings because their energy turns cold whenever you speak of joy. And before you know it, you're dimming your light to keep their insecurity from casting shadows. But let me tell you something. You were not created to shrink. You were not built to hide. You were not placed on this earth to walk gently so that others could feel tall beside you. Your wins are not accidents. Your elevation is not up for negotiation. And if someone can't clap for you with a whole heart, they don't deserve a front row seat in your life. It doesn't matter how long they've known you. If they can't celebrate you, they're not with you, period. So how do you recognize this kind of person before the damage is done? Pay attention to their reactions. When you're hurting, they show up. But when you're winning, they get quiet. Watch who leans in when you struggle and who disappears when you rise. See who shares your joy without jealousy, who gives without keeping score, who claps when the spotlight's on you, not because they want to be seen, but because they genuinely love seeing you shine. Real support doesn't compete, it doesn't compare. It doesn't count your blessings like they were meant to be theirs. Real support stands beside you, not behind you with a knife. And if someone's love shifts based on your success, it was never love. It was convenience. Now, I know it's hard to let go of people you once trusted, especially when you've built history, especially when you've shared moments. But emotional loyalty to someone who is secretly rooting against you is the fastest way to lose your peace, your power, and your progress. You have to protect your purpose. You have to guard your gift. And sometimes that means loving people from a distance, even if it hurts. You don't owe anyone access to your future just because they were part of your past. You don't owe anyone the right to walk with you simply because they started with you. Growth comes with separation. Elevation comes with exposure. And every time you rise, God will reveal who's really with you and who was only there for the ride. And here's the truth no one wants to hear. Sometimes their competition isn't even about you. It's about what they lack. It's about what they buried. It's about their own unhealed wounds, their own ignored calling, their own fear of stepping into greatness. But instead of facing that truth, they project their pain onto you. They turn your progress into a problem. And when people don't have peace, they resent those who do. Your light reminds them of everything they ran away from. So don't take it personal. Don't internalize their jealousy. Don't let their brokenness make you feel guilty for being whole. Your blessings didn't come cheap. You fought for them. You bled for them. You prayed, cried, sacrificed, endured. And no one has the right to resent the favor you worked for. So if someone in your life is constantly trying to one-up you, if they can't genuinely celebrate your victories without shifting the attention back to themselves, if their love is laced with envy, competition, and control, it's time to let them go. Not with bitterness, not with revenge, but with clarity, with strength, with the understanding that not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. You don't have time to drag anchors when God is trying to elevate your wings. You don't have time to explain your light to people committed to staying in the dark. And you don't have time to be less of yourself just to keep others comfortable in their mediocrity. Because here's what they don't know. While they're watching you, competing with you, measuring your steps, you're not even playing their game. You're too focused, too locked in, too committed to your calling. You're not running toward a spotlight, you're running toward purpose. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your success doesn't come from comparison, it comes from calling, from obedience, from faith. And no enemy, no fake friend, no jealous spirit can stop what God has already written over your life. So stop shrinking, stop explaining, stop waiting for them to understand. You were never called to be understood. You were called to stand out. You've got too much destiny to waste your energy on secret competitors. You've got too much power to be dimmed by insecure souls. And you've got too much purpose to carry people who can't clap when you win. So move forward. Walk boldly, and remember, the people who are meant for you will never compete with you. They will compliment you. They will protect your name in rooms you're not in. They will lift you without resentment, and they will love you without keeping score. That's real, that's rare, and that's what you deserve. The rest, let them watch from a distance. Let them compete with the version of you that no longer exists, because while they're playing games, you're walking in greatness. And nothing they do can stop what's already yours. Number 2, the one who drains your energy but never refills your spirit. There are people in your life who don't come to steal your money, your things, or your dreams. They come to steal something even more valuable, your energy, your peace, your joy. They walk into your space not with violence, but with need, with heaviness, with empty hands and open mouths, always asking, always taking, never giving. And the most dangerous part, they do it quietly, so gently that you don't even notice the weight they've dropped on your shoulders until your knees start to buckle. These are the people who never fill you up, but always expect you to pour, who show up with problems, but never with solutions, who need you constantly, but are never there when you need them. And they're dangerous, not because they're loud, but because they slowly drain you until there's nothing left. You become their therapist, their motivator, their safety net, their emergency contact, but you can't even count on them for a simple, how you doing? You give and give and give, hoping one day they'll give back, but they never do. You start to feel tired after every conversation, heavy, empty, like you're pouring into a bottomless cup that was never meant to hold water in the first place. And deep down you feel it. This relationship is not balanced. It's not mutual. It's not life-giving. It's a one-way street where love, energy, and time only flow in one direction, toward them. They call it friendship, they call it connection, but what it really is emotional vampirism. They feed off your light, but never bring their own. They crave your strength, but never ask if you're strong enough to keep carrying them. And when you finally slow down or get quiet, they accuse you of changing, of pulling away, of not being like you used to be. But the truth is, you're just tired. Tired of being the strong one. Tired of being the one who checks in. Tired of being the only one holding the foundation together. You're not withdrawing. You're recovering. You're trying to breathe in a space that's been suffocating you slowly. And the painful reality is, some people only love the version of you that gives without limit, the version that never says no, the version that sacrifices your own peace to protect theirs. But the moment you set a boundary, the moment you say, I'm tired too, they vanish. Or worse, they guilt trip you. I thought you were better than this. You've changed. No, you've awakened. You've realized that love without reciprocity is abuse dressed in kindness. And this kind of person will disguise their dependency as connection. They'll make you feel like you're their lifeline, like they can't make it without you. And that can feel good for a while. It can make you feel important, needed, valuable. But over time, that need becomes a chain. You're no longer helping them out of love. You're helping them out of obligation, out of fear that if you stop, they'll fall apart. And here's the truth. They will. But not because you abandoned them. Because they never learned how to stand. They never learned how to pour into themselves. They never built the muscles to carry their own emotional weight. And instead of growing, they've become dependent on you staying small just so they don't feel alone in their struggle. That's not love. That's not support. That's imprisonment. That's bondage. And it's costing you your joy. You find yourself avoiding their calls, dreading their texts, bracing yourself every time they come around. Because you know what's coming. The drama, the complaining, the emotional dumping. And never once do they ask if you're okay. Never once do they stop to pour into your spirit. They just keep taking, assuming you'll always be there. But you are not God. You are not a battery. You are not built to be drained. You are a soul, and your spirit needs refueling too. You need people who see you, who ask about your dreams, who remind you that your feelings matter too. People who pour into you with the same passion you've poured into others. Because if you keep pouring without receiving, you will burn out. Not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and that burnout will make you bitter. You'll start to resent people, not just the ones who drained you, but even the ones who love you. Because your soul has been living in survival mode for too long. Always giving, always fixing, always holding space until there's no space left for yourself. And that's not selfish. That's sacred. You deserve rest. You deserve to be asked How can I support you today? You deserve conversations that breathe life into your lungs instead of taking the air from them. You deserve friendships that feel like sunlight, not storms. You deserve to walk away from a conversation feeling lifted, not emptied. And you deserve to say, I can't carry this right now without feeling guilty. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. But here's the challenge. These people won't leave easily. They built their comfort on your sacrifice. And when you start pulling back, they'll panic. They'll call you selfish, cold, uncaring. They'll throw every guilt trap in the book at you just to get you to return to the role they assigned you. But you've outgrown that role. You've outgrown being the rescuer, the fixer, the constant shoulder. You don't have to play the savior in someone else's story, especially when they refuse to save themselves. It is not your job to bleed so someone else can heal. It is not your calling to constantly empty yourself so someone else can stay full. That's not love, that's martyrdom. And martyrs don't live, they suffer in silence. Praised for their sacrifice, but buried under the weight of other people's irresponsibility. So you have a choice. You can keep being everything for everyone and slowly lose yourself in the process, or you can choose you, choose healing, choose wholeness, choose boundaries that protect your peace, not just theirs. And that doesn't mean you stop helping. It means you stop helping in ways that hurt you. You stop sacrificing your mental health in the name of love. You stop believing the lie that your worth is tied to how much you carry for others. Because your worth is not in how drained you are, it's in how whole you are, how alive you feel, how much of your spirit you still have left at the end of the day. And if someone only shows up when they need something, but never when you do, they're not a friend. They're a transaction. Let's be clear. Real relationships are mutual. They're not perfect, but they're balanced. Some days you pour, some days they pour. Some days you carry, some days they carry. But over time, the weight feels shared, and you don't feel alone in the journey. That's how you know you're in something healthy. But if you constantly feel like a well that's being emptied without ever being filled, step back, reevaluate, ask yourself, is this connection feeding me or depleting me? And don't be afraid of the answer, because clarity may cost you company, but it will return your peace. And peace is priceless. You weren't created to be everyone's fixer. You weren't born to be drained. You were made with purpose, with light, with a calling that requires your energy, your clarity, your joy. And the longer you stay entangled with people who only take, you delay the assignment that requires you to be full. So release them with love, with grace, but with strength. You don't have to hate them to walk away. You just have to love yourself enough to stop being drained. You just have to value your own soul enough to say, I need people who see me too. And when you say that, when you truly believe that, you'll stop chasing those who only call you when they need something. You'll start attracting people who pour into you just because they care. Your spirit matters, your energy is sacred, and the people who deserve to walk with you in this life are the ones who recognize that, not just the ones who take from it, but the ones who protect it, refill it, and honor it like it's their own. So guard your peace like treasure, protect your joy like fire, and remember this, the people who love you will never let you walk around empty. They will fill you with truth, with laughter, with faith, with fuel, and they will never make you feel guilty for needing to rest, to breathe, to heal. That's not weakness. That's life. That's balance. That's love. And that's what you deserve. Number 3, the one who only shows up when they need something. There's a kind of person who doesn't knock when they enter your life, they barge in. Not out of love, not out of care, but out of convenience. They don't show up to celebrate you, they don't come to check on you, and they certainly don't appear just to say, I'm thinking of you. No, they only show up when life gets hard for them. When they're broke, when they're broken, when they've burned every other bridge, that's when they remember your number. That's when they reach out, acting like you've always been close, like they've always had your back. But you know better. Deep down, you know what they're here for. They've come to withdraw, not deposit. To take, not give. And they've made a pattern out of it. You could go months, even years, without hearing a word from them. No messages, no calls, no support when you were down, no presence when you needed somebody. But the moment they fall, suddenly they miss you. Suddenly they just thought about you. Don't let the fake sentiment fool you. What they're really saying is, I need something, and I think you're soft enough to give it. It's not about friendship. It's about survival. You're not a person to them. You're a lifeline, a resource. And they only remember you when their world's on fire. They call it reconnecting. But really, they're just recycling you. What's dangerous is that these people don't look like users at first. No, they dress it up well. They laugh with you, reminisce with you, act like they truly care, but watch their pattern. They only come close when they're empty, when their world has collapsed, when everyone else has stopped answering. That's when they return. Because they remember how kind you were, how open your heart was, how quick you were to help without asking for anything in return. They're not drawn to your friendship, they're drawn to your generosity, your goodness, your heart. And they exploit it quietly, strategically, like a thief who waits until the house is empty to break in. You may start to question yourself. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe they really care. But look at the evidence. Where were they when you were struggling? Where were they when you needed someone to talk to? Why do they only check on you when they need money, advice, or a favor? It's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. And patterns don't lie, intentions do. They might say the right things, use the right tone, even shed a few tears, but their actions tell the truth. They don't want you. They want what you can give them. And once they get it, they disappear again. Until the next storm, until the next crisis, and you end up in a cycle. Giving and hoping, helping and hurting. You give them pieces of your time, your energy, your peace, thinking maybe this time it's different. Maybe they're really back to stay, but the moment they're on their feet again, they vanish, ghosted, gone, like you never mattered, like your help was a pit stop on their journey back to comfort. And that leaves a wound. Not because of what they took, but because of what you gave willingly, hoping for real connection, hoping to matter. But to them, you were never a person. You were a convenience. And if you're not careful, they'll train you to believe that love is conditional, that being chosen only happens when you're useful, that the only time people show up is when they need something. That's trauma. That's programming. And if you don't heal from it, you'll start measuring your worth by how much you can do for others, never by who you are. That's the trap. You begin to think that if you say no, they'll stop coming around. And you're right. They will. But hear this clearly. Anyone who leaves because you said no to being used was never for you in the first place. You didn't lose them. You escaped them. You have to protect yourself from these types. Not because you're cold, not because you don't care, but because you've learned the hard way that some people only love the door open, not the person behind it. They love the access, not the relationship. They love the benefits, not the bond. And you deserve more than that. You deserve people who show up not just when they're in need, but when you're in pain. Not just when they're struggling, but when you're celebrating. People who don't just call you when they're in crisis, but check in just because they care. That's love. That's friendship. That's real. But this person, this user, they don't know what real is because they've never had to give. They've only taken. And somewhere along the way, they convinced themselves that they were entitled to your kindness, like you owe them, like your time, your energy, your empathy. It's just there for the taking. That's not friendship. That's entitlement. And entitlement is dangerous because it doesn't stop at small favors. It grows. The more you give, the more they expect. And the moment you stop, they guilt trip you. They turn on you. Suddenly you're selfish, cold, different. Not because you changed, but because you finally said enough. You see, your kindness is rare. Your heart is valuable, and not everyone deserves access to it, especially not the ones who come around only when it benefits them. These people are emotional opportunists. They don't invest in you. They don't walk with you. They don't grow with you. They just stop by, take what they need, and leave you with less than you had. And if you keep letting them back in, you'll start to shrink. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. Your joy, your passion, your peace, they all suffer because you're constantly pouring into someone who only shows up with a bucket. You weren't created to be a pit stop for broken people who refuse to fix themselves. You weren't born to be an emotional ATM, always dispensing, never withdrawing. You are more than that. You are worthy of relationships that are built on reciprocity, not desperation. You deserve people who show up not because they need something, but because they miss your presence, because they value your spirit, because they honor who you are, not what you can do. And until you believe that, you'll keep opening your door to people who don't deserve to step inside. So be wise, be loving, yes, but also be discerning. Ask yourself, do they call when they don't need something? Do they celebrate my wins? Do they ask how I'm really doing? And if the answer is no, believe that. Believe patterns over promises. Because people can say anything, but their consistency, that's the truth. And when someone shows you again and again that their loyalty is temporary and their care is transactional, believe them and let them go, not with bitterness, but with boundaries, with strength, with peace. Because letting go of a user isn't loss, it's liberation. Your time is precious, your energy is sacred, and you were not put on this earth to be a backup plan, a last resort, or a temporary fix. You are worthy of consistent love, of genuine connection, of people who show up not just when life falls apart, but when life is calm. The ones who come to enjoy your light, not just survive in your glow. So say this with boldness. I will no longer entertain people who only remember me when they need something. That's not cold. That's clarity. And with that clarity comes peace. The kind that can't be taken, used, or borrowed. The kind that grows when you finally say, enough. Number 4, the one who always plays the victim, never the villain. There's something dangerous, deeply manipulative about a person who always finds a way to be the victim no matter what happens. They twist the truth, bend the facts, and retell the story in a way that makes them look like they were just trying their best while everyone else was out to get them. They're never responsible for the mess. They're never accountable for the damage. They're just misunderstood. They always have an excuse, and when you try to bring the truth to light, they spin it back on you. Suddenly you become the bad guy for pointing it out. That's the trap they build, so subtle, so clever, that it starts to make you question reality, question yourself. You start thinking, maybe I am being too harsh. Maybe they didn't mean it. But every time you're left carrying the weight of their choices, every time you end up cleaning up their mess while they walk away with the sympathy. This type of person is masterful at emotional manipulation. They know how to cry at the right time, raise their voice at the right moment, and act like the world is against them, all while secretly orchestrating the chaos. It's never their fault. They'll blame their childhood, their ex, their boss, even the weather, anything but themselves. And if you dare to confront them, they'll accuse you of being heartless, cold, or lacking empathy. They'll flip the script in seconds. You might have facts, you might have truth, but they've got one powerful tool on their side, guilt. And they use it like a sword, not to protect, but to control. Because if you feel sorry for them, if you let your compassion cloud your judgment, then they've got you. And they know it. What makes this person so dangerous isn't just what they do, it's how they make you feel. You start to carry shame for even thinking they could be in the wrong. You suppress your instincts. You walk on eggshells. You apologize for their behavior. You cover for them. And the longer you do that, the more power they gain. They don't have to change because they've convinced you that they're not the problem, that everyone else is attacking them, that life has just been so hard for them, that they're trying their best. But ask yourself, how many times can a person try their best and still end up hurting the people around them? At some point, it's not about life being hard. It's about who they choose to be in the middle of it. This person plays the victim because it's easier than facing the truth. The truth would require change, accountability, growth. And for some people, that's too painful. So instead, they hide behind the mask of innocence. They rewrite the story so they always come out looking like the one who was wronged. And people fall for it over and over again. Friends, family, even partners will rush to their defense, thinking they're just sensitive or they're going through a lot. Maybe they are. But pain doesn't give you the right to destroy others and never own up to it. Struggle doesn't justify manipulation, and hurt people may hurt people. But healing only comes to those willing to admit when they're the one who caused the wound. If you keep someone like this in your life for too long, you start to shrink. Your voice gets quieter, your confidence gets lower. You begin to doubt your ability to judge people. You become afraid to speak up, afraid to be honest. because you already know how it'll go. The moment you confront them, they'll twist your words. They'll cry louder. They'll make it a spectacle. And now you look like the aggressor. You look like the one who went too far, all because you had the courage to call out what needed to be seen. That's how they control you. By shifting the light of truth into a spotlight of shame. And that is emotional abuse, masked in emotional fragility. They aren't weak, they're strategic. That's what makes it so damaging. Because we live in a world that often tells us to protect the ones who appear hurt, even when they're the ones doing the hurting. So you keep forgiving. You keep trying to see the good in them. But you're not dealing with someone who's just broken. You're dealing with someone who's decided to stay broken if it means avoiding growth. They weaponize their pain. They manipulate with their struggle. And they make every disagreement, every conflict, every accountability moment about how you made them feel instead of what they actually did. That's not vulnerability. That's a disguise. What you have to realize is that healing doesn't come from continuing to rescue someone who refuses to be honest about their role in the problem. You can love them, you can pray for them, you can even have compassion. But don't confuse compassion with permission. Don't keep giving them the space to act like the world owes them while they offer nothing but chaos in return. You cannot fix someone who refuses to admit they're broken in the first place. You cannot grow with someone who is committed to staying in victim mode because it shields them from ever being the villain. You cannot find peace with someone who is always at war with the truth. The one who always plays the victim is not harmless, they are dangerous. Because their actions cause real damage. Their denial creates real pain. And their refusal to grow doesn't just keep them stuck. It drags you down too. You start questioning your sanity. You start carrying burdens that were never yours to hold. You begin to feel like you're the one who's toxic, the one who's too intense, the one who's always finding fault. But that's the lie. That's the trick. Because the more you doubt yourself, the less you call them out. And the less you call them out, the more they win. You must set boundaries with this type of person. Not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself enough to stop letting manipulation wear the mask of innocence. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone endless chances to rewrite reality. And you don't have to stay in relationships where honesty is treated like betrayal. The truth is, some people will only ever grow when they hit the wall of accountability. And if you keep cushioning that wall, they'll never face it. You're not their enemy for walking away. You're not cold for setting boundaries. You're not cruel for saying this is not okay. You are simply choosing peace over performance, clarity over confusion, and truth over toxicity. And that is strength, that is healing, that is freedom. Number 5, the one who talks about everyone else behind their back. Let me tell you something, straight from the soul. If they talk about everybody else when they're with you, trust me, they're talking about you when you're not there. It's not a question of if, it's just a matter of when. And the worst part is they do it with a smile on their face. They sit beside you like a trusted friend, pretending to be loyal while their mouth is busy tearing others apart. At first, it might even seem harmless, a little gossip here, a little story there, but over time, you start to notice a pattern. Everyone's a target. No one is safe. Friends, coworkers, even family, they're all up for discussion. And the one who's doing all the talking, they're always acting like the hero in their version of the story. Like they're just being honest or telling it like it is. But truth without integrity isn't courage. It's poison. You see, someone who makes a habit out of whispering other people's failures will have no problem doing the same with yours. The moment you slip up, the moment you go through something hard, you'll become the next headline in their personal news channel. And don't be fooled by how calm they look. Don't be blinded by their charm. Because these people are dangerous, not because they're loud, but because they're silent in the worst ways. They collect your vulnerabilities like currency. They take your trust and turn it into entertainment. And when they're done draining your secrets, they dress them up as concern when telling someone else. I'm just worried about them, they'll say. But deep down, they're not worried. They're satisfied because they've kept themselves at the center of the drama while pretending to stay above it. What makes these people so toxic is that they build connection through destruction. They bond by breaking others down. And for a moment, it can feel like you're on the inside, like you've been granted some kind of access to the truth. But it's not the truth they're after. It's control, power, relevance. They need to feel important, even if that means dragging someone else's name through the dirt. And the moment you stop playing their game, the moment you set a boundary, you'll see just how quickly your name leaves their lips in the wrong company. It won't be long before the stories start about you. And by then, the damage is already done. People like this don't just speak, they influence. Their words ripple through circles like a quiet storm. By the time the truth catches up, relationships are already strained, doubts are already planted, and trust has already been compromised. And often they walk away with their hands clean because they do it so subtly, so sweetly. I didn't mean it that way. I was just saying what everyone else was already thinking. Don't take it the wrong way. Those little phrases. That's how they mask the knife. That's how they stay in people's good graces while cutting through reputations behind closed doors. They don't stab. You never see it coming. They bleed people slowly with their tongue. And here's the thing. When you keep someone like this close, you start to become like them. Not because you're a bad person, but because constant exposure to gossip breeds distrust. It changes the way you see people. It trains your heart to look for flaws instead of grace. You start scanning others for weaknesses instead of strengths. And worst of all, it numbs your empathy. Because the more you engage in backtalk, the less sensitive you become to the weight of words. You start to forget that behind every story is a soul. Behind every mistake is a journey, and behind every name you casually mention is a life that doesn't deserve to be dissected without honor. These people are often the loudest about loyalty, yet the first to betray it. They'll say things like, "You can trust me," or "I'd never say anything bad about you," but their actions don't match their promises. Watch how they behave when others walk away. Pay attention to their patterns, because gossip isn't just a bad habit. It's a reflection of character. It shows what they value. It shows whether they use their voice to protect or to destroy. And if someone is constantly tearing others down when they're not around, they don't deserve a seat at your table, because your peace is too valuable. Your energy is too precious. And your circle should be a place of growth, not a breeding ground for drama. You deserve people who speak life, not death. People who protect what's sacred, who know how to keep confidence, who don't treat personal struggles like stories to be passed around for entertainment. You deserve people who will defend your name in rooms you're not in and not dilute it with secondhand narratives and half-truths. You deserve people who lift the room with their presence, not darken it with whispers. Because life's too short to walk with those who smile in your face and spit your name the moment you turn your back. You need real ones, solid ones. People who understand that trust is currency, and once spent recklessly, it's rarely earned again. If someone constantly gossips, it's not just a red flag, it's a warning siren, a signal that they lack the emotional maturity to handle relationships with respect. It means they haven't learned how to deal with frustration in a healthy way, that instead of addressing conflict directly, they bleed it into others. And if you allow that energy to stay in your life unchecked, don't be surprised when it starts poisoning your own peace. Don't be surprised when their issues become your distractions. When their toxicity turns your relationships sour. Because gossip is contagious. And the only way to stop it from spreading is to step away from the source. Don't entertain it. Don't laugh at it. Don't pretend it's harmless. Shut it down. Change the subject. Excuse yourself. Make it known that your space is a no gossip zone. Not because you're trying to be self-righteous, but because you're protecting your soul. You're choosing growth over gossip, peace over pettiness, and dignity over drama. And if that means losing a few people along the way, so be it. Better to walk alone in truth than be surrounded by whispers in a room full of masks. You are worthy of friendships built on loyalty, on transparency, on real connection. And anyone who can't honor that, let them talk somewhere else. Number 6, the one who keeps you stuck in the past while you're trying to grow. There comes a moment in your life when you feel a fire starting to rise deep inside your soul. A moment when you're ready to let go, to evolve, to step into the version of yourself you were always meant to become. But just as you begin to rise, there's always someone pulling you back down. Someone who keeps you chained to the version of you that you've outgrown. The one who reminds you of every mistake you've made, every wrong turn you took, every flaw you fought so hard to overcome. They don't speak hope into your life, they echo shame. They don't see who you're becoming, they're obsessed with who you used to be. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself believing them. You'll start questioning your growth, doubting your healing, and shrinking back into the very pain you were trying to leave behind. These people may not come with obvious hate. In fact, they often disguise themselves as keeping it real. But there's nothing real about being constantly reminded of your lowest moments. There's nothing loving about someone who brings up the past every time you try to build something new. Remember when you failed? Remember when you said that? You're not fooling anyone. You're still the same. That's not honesty. That's emotional sabotage. And it doesn't come from a place of love. It comes from fear. Fear that you're growing faster than they are. Fear that your healing means they have to look at their own wounds. Fear that if you leave the old version of yourself behind, they'll be left behind too. You've got to understand, people who live in the past are uncomfortable with transformation. They find comfort in the known, even when the known is pain. So when they see you breaking cycles, healing trauma, choosing peace, and chasing purpose, it shakes something inside them because it exposes their own stagnation. And instead of celebrating your progress, they try to freeze frame your journey. They take snapshots of your worst chapters and hold them up like they're the whole story. But you are not your past. You are not the sum of your lowest moments. You are the evidence of redemption. The proof that growth is possible. The living testimony that change is real. And anyone who tries to reduce you to who you were is afraid of who you're becoming. You can't drag your future into rooms that only honor your history. You can't soar when someone's constantly anchoring your wings with old labels and expired judgments. They say things like, don't forget where you came from. And that's true. You should never forget. But remembering where you came from is not the same as staying where you came from. Growth requires movement. It requires forward vision. And if someone is always pulling you backward, they're not protecting your roots. They're choking them. You need people who remind you of your strength, not your scars. People who point to your potential, not your past. People who speak to your healing, not your hurting. And sometimes the hardest part about growth is realizing that some of the people who were there for your breakdown can't handle your breakthrough. They liked you when you were broken because you were easier to control. They liked you when you were lost because you needed them more. But now that you're finding your voice, walking in purpose, and raising your standards, they feel threatened. So they try to level the playing field by reminding you of the times you fell. But they don't realize those falls made you stronger. Those mistakes taught you wisdom. That version of you may have been flawed, but it was also brave enough to begin again. And you should never feel ashamed of the process that led you to this point. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to evolve beyond environments that no longer reflect your future. You are allowed to create distance from those who refuse to see your progress. This isn't pride, it's protection. This isn't ego, it's elevation, because sometimes in order to rise, you have to release. And that means letting go of voices that try to keep you small, letting go of conversations that keep replaying your pain, letting go of narratives that no longer serve your destiny. You can love people from a distance and still protect your peace. You can forgive the past without being imprisoned by it. You can honor where you've been without living there. The truth is, your past was a classroom, not a cage. It was meant to teach you, not trap you. And anyone who tries to drag you back into those old lessons isn't honoring your growth. They're resisting it. They want you to sit in shame, but you were made to stand in freedom. They want you to apologize for how far you've come, but you have nothing to apologize for. Growth is not betrayal. Healing is not arrogance. Becoming better is not turning your back on others. It's turning your face toward the future. And if someone can't handle your light, that's their struggle, not yours. So keep moving forward. Keep building. Keep dreaming. Don't let anyone's limited view of your past keep you from walking fully in your purpose. You've cried too many tears, climbed too many mountains, and fought too many battles to let someone reduce you to the person you used to be. You have every right to grow, to evolve, to rise. And anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve front row access to your journey. Don't dim your light to make others comfortable with your past. Shine anyway. You owe it to the person you're becoming, not to stay small for those who refuse to grow with you. Keep becoming. Keep blooming. Your future is waiting, and you don't have time to explain your growth to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. Let them talk about who you were. You've got a destiny to fulfill. There comes a point in your life when survival is no longer enough. You crave peace, purpose, growth, and truth. And to reach that point, you must learn something hard yet necessary. Not everyone deserves access to you. Some people walk into your life with good intentions, others come in wearing a mask. Some applaud while you rise, others clap with jealousy in their hearts. That's why this journey, your journey of becoming, requires discernment. Not everyone who smiles at you is for you. Not everyone who stays close is loyal. And not everyone from your past should have a seat in your future. You've heard the voices. You've seen the signs. There are people who disguise competition as friendship, who drain your spirit without ever pouring into you, who only show up when their hands are empty but their needs are heavy. There are those who never take accountability, always crying out as the victim while they leave a trail of hurt behind them. Then there are the whisperers, the ones who shred reputations behind closed doors. If they talk about everyone else to you, best believe they're talking about you to everyone else. And perhaps the most damaging of them all are those who can't see you beyond your past. They hold you hostage to the version of yourself you've outgrown, afraid of your evolution because it reminds them they haven't changed. If you don't guard your space, these people will contaminate your peace. If you don't set boundaries, they will blur your identity. And if you don't love yourself enough to walk away, they will convince you that dysfunction is normal. But you weren't made to stay stuck. You weren't created to shrink for people who are too afraid to grow. Your life is meant for more than survival. It's meant for alignment, purpose, and legacy. You have dreams to build, healing to finish, and a destiny that's calling your name. Don't waste another day trying to drag people with you who refuse to move. Don't let their dysfunction become your distraction. This journey is not about bitterness, it's about clarity. It's not about hate, it's about healing. It's not about closing your heart, it's about opening your eyes. You've got to protect your light. You've got to nurture your spirit. Because the wrong people don't just slow your journey, they alter your destination. And you've come too far, cried too hard, and fought too long to let anyone stop the becoming that's happening inside of you. So take inventory, let go with grace, move forward with power, protect your peace with everything you got, because peace is the soil where purpose grows. And remember, you don't need everyone to understand you. You just need the courage to understand yourself and the strength to keep walking, even if you walk alone. Thank you for giving your heart the space to receive this message. May you find clarity, courage, and conviction in every step ahead. God bless you. Stay strong, stay true, and above all, keep becoming.